guys, today we are going to be learning about complementary and supplementary angles. So complementary angles would be two angles who together, let's say that one's 40 and that one's 50, together they add up to 90 degrees, okay? So if somebody is this nice 90-degree angle, you would be very complimentary of them. Supplementary, I want you to think about supper. What does your supper table look like? Your supper table is flat, okay? Remember, you might like put some nice little bowls on here and a cup and maybe a fork. Yeah, okay, that's ridiculous. But I want you to remember that supplementary is flat, so it's going to add up to 180 degrees. So if you had two angles that were on here, and one was, let's say this one is 60 degrees, this one would have to be 120 degrees. So often what you're going to see is you are going to see just a flat line and maybe they give you one of the angles and they say, this is 45. You have to figure out what this is, and they might put an X there. You're going to know instantly that the sum of these angles is equal to 180 degrees. So you could very quickly write an equation that would look like 45 plus X equals 180. Okay, and you just used your knowledge of supplementary angles to solve for an unknown angle here. So supplementary, flat line, remember, think supper table, and the sum is 180 degrees. Now I want to look at some complementary angles. They're going to add up to 90 degrees. So let's just look at some pairs that you could have here. You could have like, what, 30 and 60, okay? You could have 45 and 45. You could have 20 and 70, right? You could have 10 and 80. Anything that adds up to 90 would be considered a complementary angle when put together. So when we start using a protractor, I want you guys to see some important things. There may be some cases where you have to use a protractor to figure some things out. I think in this example, you don't really have to, but I want you to have a quick review here of a protractor, okay? You have this baseline that you are going to line up along this baseline here. This point where the angles come together is where the open spot is. And then you follow it out. You're saying, I'm starting from here, so you're going to start from that 0 and follow the protractor around to 40. So this would be about a 40-degree angle. And we know that these are supplementary, so they add up to 180. So this would be a 140-degree angle. Okay, so you are going to be analyzing various angles today and deciding whether they are complementary or supplementary. So you may have one that's 122 and one that is 68. And they may be drawn like this and not to scale. And so you have to figure out whether they are complementary, supplementary, or neither. The key thing is going to be to add them up. 122 plus 68. 8, 9. That adds up to 190 degrees. Wait a minute. Complementary is 1 is 90. Supplementary is 180. So you are going to say this would be neither. Okay? You cannot solve these just by looking at them unless, let's look at this one. You have a line that's here, and then they give you some values. Now let's say they give you 42 and 48. Do you still have to add them up to figure out if they equal 90? Yes, you do. So you'd have to say 42, 48. Ooh, that's going to give me 0. Carry the 1. Ooh, that is 90. So these are going to be complementary. So you have to add them up and double check because they will try to mess you up. Or you might get something like that and something like that. And they say this one's 45 and this one's 55. Don't try to wing it and do it in your head. Actually add it up. And here you'd say, I know 40 plus 50 would be 90, but we have these extra 5. So this is actually going to be 100. So it is neither. Okay. Now, you have to tell whether the angles are complementary or supplementary, and then find the value of x. So in certain situations, you will have an angle. If you have this symbol here, it means it's a right angle. that this line and this line intersect at a 90-degree angle. Now they're telling you that this angle is x and this angle is x minus 20. Okay? You have to write an equation, set it equal to 90 because it's a right angle, and solve for the value of x. So first off, we're going to say this would be what? Complementary because it's 90 degrees. And then our equation is going to be x, that angle, plus x minus 20, which is this angle. Because it's all addition and subtraction, we can just get rid of the parentheses. We're going to set that all equal to 90. Combine like terms, so we would have 2x minus 20 equals 90. We're going to add or subtract whatever else is here next to our variable terms. So we're going to add 20 to both sides. And then we have 2x equals 110. Divide both sides by 2. And we have x equals 55. Great. So looking back up here, we know the value of x is 55. We know that these are complementary angles. Okay? Now, if you have a situation where you have a straight line and you are trying to solve angles using algebra, remember that you have to set it equal to 180. So here they have what? 2x, and over here is 3x plus 25. So you'll need to write this all out as an equation, add all these things up, set them equal to 180, and solve for x. You can do that. Okay, now I want to bring back a little bit of vocabulary from our previous lesson. Adjacent angles are those that are next to each other. So these two are adjacent angles, and we could call them adjacent supplementary angles because added together, they equal 180 degrees. So your job right now is going to be to identify the other angle given that you have adjacent supplementary angles. So if this angle is 20 degrees, what would this one be? And you would find that by going 180 minus 20. So we know it would be 160 degrees. Okay, another example. Let's say this one's 35. You would find the adjacent supplementary angle by subtracting 35 from 180. Might have to borrow, and we would find that would be 145. Okay, so those are the main things that you need to know. Another thing that I do want to teach you is how to label an angle. So in this example, here we have a vanishing point in an artwork. If we were talking about this part of the artwork, we would label this angle ABF. An angle is going to look like this symbol here, angle ABF. Okay? So it almost looks like an L, but it's an angle. Now, if we were to talk about this whole area that is the road, you would say angle FBD. And you would write it like this, angle FBD, making sure that that middle letter matches your midpoint of the angle. Okay? So that's how we do angle notation. And if you are asked to analyze angles, you will need to be able to decode that notation. All right, good luck. Again, our learning target is analyzing and interpreting what complementary and supplementary angles are and solving problems with them.